Just Corona blues, or just for more simply, just depression for me. It's also a form of introspection, like looking at what you've done, looking at what you've missed, what you could have been. That's like really struggling. At least that's what I've been struggling with for the past how many years now? 2 years almost. Coronavirus.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Way podcast. This week we have a returning guest. My good friend Charles Cow is here. He has a secret name on right now. Secret, many letters and many numbers. But yeah, what's up,
Yes.
Charles?
My name is NFT.
Hey,
Hello, hello. I'm back.
yeah,
All
Charles
right.
exists only in the metaverse. Um,
I'm a construct made by Facebook.
yeah, you're Zuckerberg's creation.
Hmm.
This is gonna get pulled off Instagram. Anyway, uh, so we're filming this. It is Jan 9th, 2022. And we're going back into our lovely Corona lockdown.
Hmm.
You know, everything's all closed up. 5 people inside, no indoor dining, no nothing really. And I was thinking about, doing an episode on um, just mental health in general. We've talked about this topic before with previous guests in spurts, but never dedicated a whole episode to it.
Hmm.
So for today, Charles and I are just going to talk about our experience with mental health, and maybe a few things um, we did to, help lift ourselves out of it. Um, I guess I'll go first. Um,
Yep.
so throughout my life, I've been relatively okay. I think in terms of my mental health, I've never had any, diagnosed with anything. Um, I've never really felt that depressed, I guess. In a way, like we all feel these kind of slumps here and there, but nothing to the extreme level of where I can't get out of bed. I can't think of anything, any positive thoughts, nothing like that. Um, I
Right.
I think the worst was probably at the beginning of university.
Hmm.
Yeah, the start of uni was, it was less than ideal, of course. Um,
Lots of stress.
Lots of stress. Um, just adopting. I mean, we were in the this sort of online world already because of the end of school, high
Hmm.
school. But even so, it's still a different university, is a different world, right? University, college, wherever higher level education you go to, it's not the same as high school. And when it's online, it's very difficult to connect with people. I tried my best to make my connections through my groups and stuff, and that's what really helped me, you know, keep up a positive attitude. Because all these you just hear on the news, oh, these thousands of people getting corona, this many people died, this hospital outbreak, this senior's home, just a lot of bad stuff going on. And that was just coupled with so many other things like protests and fall of governments, and like it's just when you're so not occupied with other things, like in your daily life, you really start to look outside and you get sucked into the news. Thankfully I wasn't too bad, but
Hmm.
you still get affected by the small stuff you see, right?
Yeah, because it's all you really hear nowadays. Besides, your parents and stuff. The news just like
I know.
completely failed us about the coronavirus and stuff like that.
Yeah, and just during school, I mean, first year uni it was pretty intense. I wouldn't say, I was thankful I was able to at least go to school. I was
Hmm.
able to make it into program and all that. But it was still tough. I'm not gonna lie, and
Right.
it was physically wasn't too bad, right? Didn't have to go.
Hmm.
I mean, I think my exercising routine kind of got a little screwed up, but I made do, try to adjust it. But my mental strength, mental, I guess, state was a little. It was kind of jaded.
Right.
um, I mean, at the end of first year, it wasn't as bad, but I think what really messed me up was actually this year, just this last. I finally felt the Corona blues. Really, everyone talks about it. I never really felt it because I'm with my family. At least I can see my family. I can talk to my friends on. We talk in Discord or whatever.
Hmm.
Meet up occasionally. Um, but I really hit when I was actually able to go to campus for a semester after being in online school for a year and a half,
Hmm.
and now having to go back onto online after experiencing it. So now what you're missing, right? So it hurts even more. Um, and it's just it was something that I never thought I would. To be honest, I never thought I would feel that way. Usually, I'm pretty positive guy
Right.
about things. But at the end of the year, I was kind of like, dude, so many things. Like, I wish it could have been this way. We're going back into another lockdown and just a lot of other stuff. Um, in these last 2 weeks, like, I don't want to detail my family life right now, but just stuff
Mm.
going on, Corona related stuff, and just so many things to think about, and especially when it was like right after exams, that week before actual Christmas, like the actual Christmas winter break actually was happening. It was just the time in between. It was just like it's such a weird time. It just felt it's just reflecting so much on the year and just myself in general. Um, and I felt kind of like disappointed in myself in some ways, and not achieving. I don't know. I mean, now looking at it now, it's different, but in that moment, it just felt like all went to shit.
Yeah, it feels like you haven't. I think that is one big thing. I felt like maybe I even said this last time, but the worst part about this whole coronavirus thing is I feel like I didn't grow throughout the
Yeah,
past 2 years. I feel like I'm still the same old in a way.
yeah,
Um, for me, like yeah, well, like what you said, just Corona blues, or just for more simply, just depression for me. It's also a form of introspection,
yeah,
like looking at what you've done, looking at what you've missed, what you could have been. That's like really struggling. At least that's what I've been struggling with for the past how many years now? 2 years almost.
yeah,
Coronavirus.
yeah. It's just something that is, when you're left with your own thoughts, and that's why people go insane when they're put into solitary confinement. When you're left with your own thoughts, right? It just goes. A lot of people just go to a dark place at some point. And your situation's different than mine. It's harder. I understand. It's definitely it's probably harder for you to have these sort of conversations where you can at least talk about it. You know, um, I'm lucky enough to have a lot of people in my life who are willing to talk about it. I don't know about you,
Hmm.
but and I usually don't. It's not like they don't want to. It's kind of like I am the one who doesn't want to talk about it really. Because like I'm not really. I wouldn't say I was a sensitive kid, growing up,
Right.
uh, and I learned not later in life not to display emotions, like not to overtly display them. Only display them when it's like necessary,
Hmm.
and when you feel like you shouldn't be so emotional over everything, which is true in a lot of cases, right? You shouldn't be so emotional over every little thing, but I kind of had a little bit of a downside where I didn't really talk about emotions that often at all. It's not like my
Hmm.
parents like discouraged me. It was kind of my own thing. It was my own fault. Um,
Because emotions do make us vulnerable. That's
hmm
but they are a really essential part of what we are.
yeah, part of what makes us human, right?
Yep. And for me, it's actually because I think personally I am pretty emotional as a person, and
hmm
I had the exact sort of opposite effect later this year. Nowadays I've just like I feel like I'm losing my emotions in a way. It just with the world going like this, it's getting hard for me to really have the same sort of hope or like joy that I used to have.
Yeah,
It's a difficult feeling. I'll say that, and I think what kept me through it was definitely just having people to talk to. So,
yeah, yeah,
mhm.
yeah. It's definitely important to have some sort of not even. It's not really therapeutic to be talking. It's not therapy. Sorry, it doesn't replace therapy. It's
Yeah,
therapeutic to talk to people, and it's just some way to deal with it, right?
hmm
And I especially for myself, I find myself, a lot of people like to say this, like, oh, I try to be, I'm really self-aware, like I try to monitor everything I do and all that. But for me, I feel like it's really overtly true and very almost an extreme level where like every minute thing I do, I think about it into detail a
hmm
little too much. Like I'm that guy who over researches on something if they really care about it, if they care about the result and who it affects.
right,
I don't really care about the opinions of people who I don't know. So I don't really care about like presenting some sort of image to other people. But when it
hmm
comes to people who I actually care about, like my family, my friends, like that's the opinions of them is what I really like. I really
right,
hold dear, right?
hmm
And I become a little too self aware, in the sense of I think I reflect negatively too much on things I've done, and that's kind of counteractive to what I usually do, what I've been trying to do for a while, which is be that person who doesn't think too much about things,
hmm
tries to have that thing about no regrets. Well, you're always gonna have regrets, right? But trying
right,
your best to live your everyday like it's your last day, and it's cheesy, but it's true. A lot of these cheesy lines are true. People say them for a reason, right?
hmm
Because we should always try. And I think one way you can trying to get out of these sort of slumps, just when depression sets in, or I'm not a therapist. I'm not. This is not any sort of advice, but this is what I did at least. You try and look back at what you've accomplished, that actually worked out, because humans have this sort of bias towards looking at things that are poor or bad, right?
yeah,
I think it's negativity bias or something. We learned about it in business organizational behavior or whatever. But basically, I mean, you can just think of everything in like how often do you remember a good meal versus a bad one? Like let's just say you go to a restaurant 10 times a year, 9 times out of 10, it's a great time. And then the one time in the year where you had a bad meal, you remember it more than, so many the other 9 times. And sometimes that'll even drive people to not go to that restaurant again, right? You have one bad
yeah,
experience somewhere, one bad experience with anything, then you just drop it, right? And that's a fault of our human
kind
design.
of human mind. Yeah,
Yeah, because I think it's probably what kept us alive so long.
hmm
Like our species, we think about like if something bad happens, just your mind tells you not to do it again. Don't touch the burning hot stove. That's why we feel pain.
Yeah,
Um,
you die if you get stabbed. And
yeah,
it's a natural human emotion. I mean, we remember pain better than we remember joy. And
yeah, because we don't want to feel it again. Oh,
mhm.
you go to the most primitive sense, like oh, I was hunting this creature, and then I did this one thing. Came in too early, and it ran away, and I couldn't. We didn't eat for 3 weeks, you know. And then in your mind, you're like, oh yeah, maybe I won't do that next time.
Mhm.
And yeah, but one thing I find helpful is actually looking on the positive things, right? You always gotta try your best to be that glass half full person, especially in times when you feel lost and you can only think of the bad. Take yourself out of your own mind and try to just look at it in perspective of everything else, right? Your entire life, rather than just these small, minute moments like, oh, I did bad on a test, this one test, right? But yeah, you also did great on these other tests, before, or you did great on the test after. Or, look, I don't have any friends this year, but the few friends that I made, they're really valuable. I really value them as people and the
Mm,
relationship they have with me. And taking that sort of positivity mentality is also what helps us survive in a sense as well, because you know I mean it's a well-known fact that happy people live longer, and it's if it, the more I feel like this might be a little general, but the happier you are, the more reason you have to live, right?
right.
If you feel like everything is despair, you have less and less to live for, essentially.
You don't have
And
the will to keep living if you like, for example, encounter something, you know?
yeah, it's like every day is just crap. I don't feel good. I mean, this is what some of the things, these are thoughts kind of drive people to taking their own life, and it's a horrible thing that happens all too often, especially amongst males. Males they're more likely to commit suicide, and it's such a sad thing that people have to come to that point. There's always a way out.
Yeah, but sometimes that light just so dim that they just can't see it.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate that those things happen, but they do.
yeah, and that's why it's so important to keep, especially in just Asian communities in general. Um, don't really talk about feelings too often. I mean, even with my parents, they grew up here. My dad came here when he's two, and my mom was born here. And
Mm.
still, we don't talk about. I mean, they never explicitly say that we can't talk about it. They always say, if you feel this some way, come talk to us. Um, but it's not explicit like where it's all the time talk about your feelings every day. Um, Sometimes you don't need that though. Like I feel like I don't need to talk about them all the time. But some people are different, right? I personally don't need to talk about my feelings with everyone, spill my um, emotions all the time. But some people need that to feel better. Um, and every once in a while, I need to do it too, right? I'm talking to you about you know how I felt, kind of sad the last few weeks of the year, and it's so uncommon, amongst, especially in just Asian society in general. Even not even that, just old societies in general. It doesn't matter if it's Asia, even European. I'm sure 100 years ago, sons weren't talking with their dads about their feelings, right?
Yeah, like the whole idea of mental health was taboo in
Yeah, you're
100 years
like,
ago.
would you just weak?
Yeah, like
And yeah,
I remember like in one of Camus' books, like that's when like they first realized something like Asperger's really existed. So
hmm,
like this mental health like as a thing hasn't been around for that long.
no,
And for example, for me, like my mom, she grew up like in the 60s and like
Yeah.
she knows about the modern society. And yeah, she just still doesn't really believe in things like therapy or stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are set in their ways, right? And
Hmm.
especially our parents, like my grandfather, he's definitely set in his ways. Um, but in some way, there people are trying. Parents try their best, right?
Yeah.
Um, Even though they can't understand that idea of expressing your emotions, or just talking about feelings
Hmm.
in that way so openly, it might be foreign to them. But as long as they try, then that you can't fault them for that, right? Because they were raised with even less of that,
The
and
resources we have now. Yeah.
less resources, less openness for this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's something that this is changing now too, right? But it's another thing um, that doesn't get talked about a lot. I think is some sort of some accountability. It's not always every like the thing is when it comes to, at least for me, improving your mental state. It's 99% about you improving yourself in a way,
Hmm.
and you can't feel better unless you want to feel better, right? And sometimes it's I'm sure it's so hard to you of course you want to feel better. You don't Nobody wants to feel like crap every day, no, not wanting to get out of bed. But sometimes you have to try and put yourself in situations where you force yourself, you know to be more positive,
Hmm.
like things like that give you perspective, right?
Right.
And being grateful for what you have. That's something that I found is just like whenever I get down on myself, and he's like, you know what? I try to bring myself down to someone else's position who has much less than me, and just think about what I could have had, um,
Hmm.
and be thankful for what I have: good family, food on the table, warm house, clothes, go to a good school, getting a good, all these sorts of things. Just
Yeah. Happiness is very relative, and so is like, sadness and stuff like that.
exactly.
And yeah, just like what I said earlier, I think stuff like depression and such is you should think of it more as introspection instead of, you know, outward aggression. Um, because like people talk to me sometimes about like, wow, I'm depressed. I think the world's against me, or like this person is making me depressed. I feel like that's a wrong way of thinking about it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like the only way to really get out of depression or get out of these kind of blues is to improve yourself and like to a point where you don't have to think about those things anymore. At least that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I think that's a healthy way of looking at it.
Hmm.
Um, because it's actually a solution. If the whole world's out to get you, what can you do? You can't do anything. But if you think of it as a something in your control, right?
Yeah.
So if you give yourself control of your own state, right, your own mental state, then I'm sure you'll be more likely to actually rise out of that pit, you've put yourself in, when you realize that it's you that's putting yourself in this state. Um, and a lot of people might take that in the wrong way, where it's like, oh, you're just blaming me for being depressed, um,
Well,
and
no, no.
no, right?
Yeah.
Everything, first of all, everything you do is, any way you react is all up to you. Um, like, you can't control what happens, but you can control your reaction to it. And at the end of the day, stubbing your toe and getting upset about it, and exclaiming, that's you, right?
Yeah.
Feeling upset about hitting your toe, or feeling upset about a grade is you're making the emotion, you know? It's you reacting to something. So if you think about it in that way, you have all the power. You know, you have all the responsibility to you can manage yourself. You can manage these emotions and do it in a healthy way.
Hmm.
You know, not resorting to drugs, alcohol, and all these kind of things that are self-destructive. You know, I'm not against these sorts of things, but up until a certain point where it becomes self-harm, you know, it's obviously not healthy. It's no longer healthy for you or beneficial in any way. Um, and I mean, I think we both agree on that. Um, Giving yourself the ability, it gives you the ability to actually bring yourself out of whatever
Situation
depression
you're in.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever situation you're in, right?
Yeah, because I feel like since I wouldn't say like I'm like clinically diagnosed as like depressed, but like I think I have been depressed for a long time. But like it just sort of like some people are more susceptible to having mental health issues, but it's about learning how to control it, how to live with it. That's important.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's ever gonna be a fix to mental woes. That's just sort of like a part of the human condition. You just
Yeah.
have to strive and find a way to really suppress it and do what you can to be better.
Hmm.
And I think before you talked about like meeting new people, having new encounters. Um, so how has that been for you for past 2 years?
Yeah.
Has there been? Because I know, at least for me, like I of course like I've always been on inside my house. So you're not really meeting new people, but
Yeah.
this year I had many encounters, of course, still, but I also have many departures. People that left me because of certain
Yes. Yeah.
things, and you know,
That must be tough,
people
man.
drift apart. But I think for me, like I'm starting to like as I become an adult, start to think of those things as more of a blessing than a curse. Just having
Hmm.
encounters with other people is enough to justify any sort of pain that comes with it.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, I mean, it must be hard, you know. I mean, having people leave, you know, that you know, especially when you thought they were the relationship was closer than it was, you know.
Hmm.
And I don't know if I've gone through that to an extreme
Right.
because I've always tried to really surround myself with a small amount of people. I'm not
Hmm.
saying like you know you're like you're friends with thousands of people or whatever. You know, like you're just hanging out with random people. But um, you know, I've always thought of that. You know, trying to surround myself with people who not just are like-minded, but who have the same, I guess, core values, and
Right.
not just like you don't have to think the same about everything. You know that just makes it boring, right? I don't want an echo chamber, but you know these basic things like valuing relationships, somebody's trust, being there for someone, um, and you know all these things that just keep a relationship with anyone intact. And I'm just glad that I was able to realize that early. Like in
Yeah.
middle school, I was lucky enough, or I just didn't get hurt that much in middle school. And then high school, you know, it was just our group that we hung out with. You know, I didn't hang out with tons of people. Didn't really want to. Didn't really care.
Hmm.
Yeah, because you know I've learned now that there's a big difference, like different levels of relationships. Like there's a huge difference between like friends, acquaintances, and like almost like family. You know, there's a
Hmm.
huge difference. Um, like I think it's good to know a lot of people, to have like acquaintances, and there's nothing wrong with. I think that there's a lot of benefits to that. You get to learn a lot of different perspectives without being invested in so many different people's lives.
Hmm.
But moving on to the friends level of a relationship is different, right? Like me and you, we know you can't just move on to this that quick. you know
Yeah,
they always make that joke about how girls, they'll be like, oh my god, we're besties, and then a month later they're like,
they
I hate
fucking
that. I
yeah,
hate
they
that.
backstab each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know and you can't just rush into that kind of stuff. Like you can't
yeah,
when people start revealing their whole life story, and like when you first met, and that's why you can connect when you connect on a specific issue, or something that you relate to, then that's when a lot of people they become friends, right? Like when we met each other, we connected on just creating art. um when was the first time we actually met? I can't Was
uh,
it at your place? No, it wasn't at your house.
it's probably at my place. It's like, our friend Rakesh,
A ragamuffin.
with his surprise messages. Hey, this
Hey,
guy's coming, by the way.
he's coming, by the way, to your house.
Thanks, Rakesh.
Oh yeah, that was back when we used to play Smash with 8 people. My
Hmm.
God, that was crazy. Some good times, man.
You know what? Those are some of the best times of
High
my
school,
youth.
man. Yeah, just thinking of,
All
yeah,
the dumb, all the dumb stuff we did together. It's People call it
safe.
stupid, but
It was safe. At least it was safe.
it was safe. Yeah, we didn't do anything,
We're like,
that stupid.
yeah, but it was those are some good times. But that, like, we didn't become great friends overnight. Like we had to get to know each other, go over. Then we slowly learn a lot about each other, and that's how you build real relationships. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah,
Like, I meet, especially when I came on campus, I met so many people. Like, I mean, connecting with people online during first year was, you're saying, you had a lot of departures this year, a lot of new encounters, and I'm happy for you that you had some new encounters. I'm sure it's tough. The only reason I was able to do that was because, I had classes that were in person for a semester, so I could at least go and see people.
hmm,
And I'm glad I made a couple new friends, and I met the last podcast. I had a conversation with someone who's really interesting, Jeff Xia, really nice guy and down to earth. Um,
right.
and I'm glad because there's always like shitty people, no matter where you go, right?
Hmm.
And I try my best to surround myself with people who aren't. I mean, that's what everyone tries to do, I guess. But um, I feel like it's almost easier in university than it is in high school, because there's not really like anything about keeping up an image, because there's so many people that you
You just
only
blur
know.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, like you only know who you know.
Hmm.
You know, in high school there's maybe 1,000 kids, maybe if you're a huge school, maybe 2,000. But university, there's like, I'm at U of T and there's, I don't know, 60,000 students, so it's not like you're going to be worried too much. I mean, in the same program, maybe, right? Smaller programs, but still. Um, like, no, there's not really as many cliques or all that stupid shit.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's so much easier to make meaningful. I don't know. I found it easier to make meaningful relationships that way. Because there's a lot to connect on too. I mean, everyone just likes to talk shit about how hard it is at U of T. Um, I mean, there's a
That's
whole
like the
like,
beginning to many relationships, right? Wow, I fucking hate the school.
yeah. Oh my God, they just screwed me on this test. The average was a 25%. Ugh. All too common at the school. There's literally for those of you probably listening know of the U of Tears account, where people just make anonymous confessions about U of T. It's just, some of them are like, a lot of it is complaining about the school, but at some level, it's like, you got to remember, at least you're going to school, right? At least you have the
Hmm.
money to afford a program like this, because it's not easy for a lot of people. And of course, the school does stupid stuff that's just completely unfair a lot of the times. But People will complain about everything, right? I mean, you gotta complain once in a while. You gotta be able to vent. But
Yep.
yeah, it's not healthy to do it all the time. But at least you get to connect with people on that. It's not always the best to connect on hating something when you first meet someone, but sometimes that's how a lot of relationships start, and they can blossom from there into something a lot more deep, deeper than just I hate this professor. Oh, you hate him too? Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I just think like even though the current situation with the virus and such, the lockdown is shitty. Just having an environment where you can meet new people and just talk to people is nice for mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I mean, have you met any new people that you formed some decent connections with this year?
I mean, so in real life, at least, I don't think I met anyone that's close to me, like where I live, per
Yeah,
se.
yeah.
But like, you know, this year I got into a funny little game called Final Fantasy 14.
Just a little into it.
Yeah. But yeah, throughout through that, like I met a lot of new people, like from mostly US, of course.
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, just like when in a year where you can't go anywhere, like especially abroad, like even through something as stupid as a game or like a chat room, I met a lot of new people that has different perspectives on things, and just that someone to talk to when I don't have anyone to talk to. So I think
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
That's one beautiful thing about, online games and just the internet in general is that's what the ability to connect with so many different people around the world. Like even me, I'm able to face like at UFT. There's so many people from different countries around the world. Like we already have so many different perspectives within one country, but then we have perspectives from across the world. From so many different nations, and if without the internet there wouldn't be any of that. I would have never met any of them. I would have met two of my close friends that I've made. During university.
Hmm.
Both of them are international students, so I wouldn't have met them. We wouldn't have had no Zoom call if there wasn't any internet. you know, no way to
And
connect that. Yeah,
in a way, like when you learn about new things, new perspectives, help you feel. You begin to feel how insignificant some of your own worlds are, and for me, that kind of helps me go th- go through it with things like how to move on from things. Like, for example, you know, if someone dumped me,
hmm
nowadays I'll like, someone out there might be going through something much much worse, and they're still fighting through it. I won't hang on to it for 2 years like certain someone. Um, Instead, I'll choose to move on.
oh my god, that's an inside joke for us this century, bro. Uh,
Don't worry
yeah,
about it, Small.
we don't need it. We don't need to explain that. We don't need to. Yeah,
But yeah, I think that also just helps with like, you know, how to feel during this whole thing.
yeah,
And that's why like I feel like in some ways like thinking about how small we are in this world, in this universe, somehow for me it's comforting.
yeah.
It's the it's a unique feeling, I guess.
It's almost a feeling of humbleness,
Hmm.
right? You feel, that's why a lot of philosophies, spiritual philosophies, religions, they always say to humble yourself before something greater than you, right? And if you think about how we're just a tiny organism living in a tiny rock in the middle of a universe that is whatever billions of light years wide. Um, like what that person said to you yesterday doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah.
Like who cares about that? Um, it helps to put putting things in perspective. It's like it's such a useful tool when you're going through anything. It's just a smart like every analysis strategy that we learn in business school, like in commerce, starts that way. Is basically okay. Look at the problem now. Let's step away from that context and look at it from different perspectives and
Hmm.
see how it is relative to other things, right? And it really helps us to see a real solution. You can evaluate other options, and I think it's healthy to take that perspective in life too, right? Just in general, evaluate from atop, have a bird's eye view about something without just looking at it within the confines of your mind with your blinders on, thinking with your only with your emotions.
Yep. Yeah. And I think sometimes like thinking about like different perspectives and like how small you are can lead to like nihilism. But like
Yeah.
at the same time, just think about like we have a limited time on this small, tiny rock planet.
Yeah.
Just even if we're stuck inside, even if it has been 2 years since this funny virus leaked out
Epic.
somewhere, um,
Yeah.
we're still here and we can still do things to improve ourselves, make other people happy, make the people we know we love happy. I think that's just important. Every little moment counts, even if like we're doing insignificant shit. Sorry
Yeah.
for the swearing, by the way. Don't
Who
know if it
cares?
matters in this
It's
podcast.
fine. It's all right, man. We got lots of swearing on this thing. Like that episode where we talked about anime.
Oh,
I'm sure I didn't upload the other one. Guys, if you guys don't know, there's a secret episode, the anime episode. We filmed one before that just went off the rails, like just horrible. It was so disorganized, and we just were laughing. We couldn't get through a proper intro for probably an hour. And yeah, so guys, let me know in the comments below if you want me to make a Patreon, because that'll be the first thing. $1 a month, you'll get a new epic funny video of the boys just saying stupid stuff. All right, that's on the
um,
members only
yeah.
page.
One day maybe we'll make a internet gas return as the members only
Ah, yes.
site.
Internet gas. Okay, guys. If you want a good time, make sure you check out Internet Gas. Okay, I'm gonna link that. One of the funniest. I mean, your boy Charles Cal right here. Also, what's your channel called again? Is it
It was called Chozok, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I don't make videos nowadays,
not
but
anymore? Yeah, maybe
that might
once
make a
again
return
one time.
someday.
Yeah, but yeah, one of the funniest videos I've ever watched, because we were just telling dumbass stories, just name dropping like locations where people went to school. Like it was just horrible. The editing that Charles had to do on that episode, it was
Yeah,
just beep beep beep. He went to beep, bro.
it was a solid 70 hours of editing just
Oh
to get
man,
through like an hour.
that was hilarious though. One of the funniest things. But yeah, do you have any plans for this year, man? Any? It doesn't have to be anything big, like just any general principles or anything.
I mean, for first of all, I've not been the most successful with school and such. So like I guess the first thing just to, settling down, having like a plan for my future.
Mm-hmm.
Um and of course, I'm gonna lose something very special to me very soon. I'm gonna steal my heart for that.
Yeah.
And it just well nowadays I don't really believe in like predictions of like oh what will happen in the 6 months, what will happen in 3 months,
Yeah.
when will the Omicron thing end? Because those predictions get your hopes up, and then something funny pops up again.
Whoops. Starts with a D, ends with a N. But
um
yeah.
yeah, just I think just making plans for the future. Like, you know, no matter what happens, we're still gonna live on. And
Hmm.
I think it's important for me to just, think about what to do next. But aside from that, nothing much. I don't think Japan will open up anytime soon. Because they're funny.
Daijinpo, they don't
Um,
want you, man. They're. This is all because they don't want the great Charles Sow to come back. He's gonna
oh,
take over the manga industry.
oh no, not the Mongolian virus. Charles Cow. But yeah,
Yeah, man.
what about you, Sujin?
Well, I have like sticky notes in on my desk because I'm gonna be sitting there for a while, like before, so at least I can see my goals this year. I tried to, I don't like New Year's resolutions because it, it's kind of like almost like a. I feel like it's almost like a cop out because it's like, okay, I'm gonna wait till New Year's to do this. Like I could have been doing, you could have just done it. Really, most things you could have just done. That like, oh, I want to lose this much weight this year. You could have started before New Year's or whatever. I don't like to call it New Year's. Just general goals and habits. Um, One, I want to, just do better in specific courses that I'm in. I'm aiming for a certain mark in a lot of them, and that's some boring stuff. But yeah, that's one. Another is I want to get to episode 34 of the Weight Podcast by the end of the year. That's a goal.
Oh, that's a very nice goal.
Yeah, and if I think it's like we usually upload bi-weekly. I was doing weekly when I first started for the first 3 months, but that was just hard, bro. Like it was so hard to get episodes out consistently during school. Just to
And
find, yeah,
you're gonna feel like burnout too if you do it too often.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I really liked making them, but I found that it was so hard to get guests on because everyone was busy. Like that's why there's so many episodes with us, right? Because we know each other, what's going on and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and those are still fun to film though. But yeah. So, um,
Yeah.
but the plan is to keep it bi-weekly. Eventually, I want to go back to once a week on Sunday at 12 p.m. But it's I've made a new schedule, a proper schedule for the podcast for myself. Like today is Sunday. I usually, since it's bi-weekly, it gives me more than enough time. Bi-weekly is perfect for me because one week I spend editing all the clips, hyping everything up, and the other week I spend finding guests and filming. Right.
Right.
The hardest part is finding guests, at least for me, because I don't have a huge network of people. It's good to just meet more people and stuff, but it's good. I can always come back to the boys. You know what I'm saying? We always
Yeah,
got
we're
stuff to
always
talk
here.
about. We always got shit to talk about.
Hmm.
Yeah. So the plan is hopefully I'll get to episode 34. That's the goal, or I'll make it 35. Sounds nicer. Um, and another is trying to release. I said 6 songs this year. That's one goal. 6 songs
6.
is a lot, but we'll see.
Can't wait for the memories too.
Murmuries, Soonjan murmuries. I should change, guys. I should change my name from my artist name from just my Sajin Marora to Soonjan
Surgeon
murmuries,
memories.
Sugma murmuries.
Suck my
Oh, dude.
Many funny memes.
Very funny meme that no one will laugh at except us.
Hmm. But yeah, just do whatever makes you happy, and it's very clear that this podcast makes you happy.
Oh yeah, man. It's one of the. I'm so glad I started it.
Hmm.
These are like these kind of things. It's where when you really have passion for something, it's when you enjoy the small tedious things. Like I love editing this, like lining stuff up, and it's so tedious, but I never get annoyed. I've never gotten really annoyed at doing it. Like writing the blog every time I have an episode going up is one of my favorite things because it really helps me practice my writing and how to write
Hmm.
something concise but also meaningful. You know, like my reads are maybe 1 to 2 minutes max,
Right.
and it helps me with writing and introducing guests and just concepts and just stuff that's on my mind after the episode, you know, or just before it's filmed. Um, and it helps me. I think it's helpful for me to just think about it, you know, and actually
Hmm.
gain something, because that's the whole point of this, you know, just learning, bettering our own way in life by looking at other people's way, you know,
Yeah,
and yeah.
it's just a very smart concept. Gotta commend you for that and sticking with it for so long.
Well, it's not that smart. I stole it from Miyamoto Musashi, who was also a pretty smart guy. But
Oh, right. I'm reporting you to the
oh, the
CCP.
copyright CCP, you know,
Yeah, okay.
CCP.
But
Yeah,
keep on going on. You know,
yeah, man,
that's
and
what's important. Like always
yeah,
said.
yes,
Worse.
yes, keep going, persevere through this.
Hmm.
You know, we don't know when this Corona thing is gonna end, or we're never gonna go back to normal. There is no normal, right? Normal is just what we think is the common thing at the time, you know, and then eventually it'll change. The normal keeps changing, so you know, we're never gonna go back to that. Um,
Yeah, even if the economy, even if the physical world, bounces back to its normal state, I don't think our mental, our spiritual state will ever, you know, go back to where it was before.
yeah, but
Because like,
I feel like it's just different. I might not be. I don't know if it's worse, and it definitely will be damaged for a while.
mm,
But I feel like it's just different. You know, life will
right.
be, because Corona brought many bad things, but it got, in some ways, it brought many good things. You know,
Mm,
you introspection is something we need to do. You know, we should be doing. We should be reflecting on ourselves. But you know, we talked about the dangers of that, of over reflecting and dwelling on things, and you know,
yeah.
regret and all that. But yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be a while before, you know, these kids born in Corona who haven't, you know, been outside without a mask in their entire life, you know, haven't been to school properly, been going to online school. Like my mom's a kindergarten teacher, and think about, these kids are born 4 years ago. They only really, kids gain, I think they said children gain consciousness, like that they're alive around, I don't know, between 2 and 3 or something like that, or maybe 1 and 3, something around that range. So they've
Hmm.
only been realized that they're living since they've been maybe two, and since they've realized that, you know, they've been in the pandemic, just either going online school, only seeing a few different people, not going outside as much, you know. And I mean, there's already so many problems, you know. It's added just more to the plate. But what are you gonna do, right? You gotta
Yeah.
we have to just deal with the aftermath and be understanding
Hmm.
if these kids are a little fucked up, you know.
Well, we just have to hope for the best.
Yep, that's all
Hmm.
we can do, right?
Yep. Do our best and pray.
Yeah, pray to whatever you believe in, science, you know,
Yeah. And
whatever.
just like a last thing I want to say, just like for me, right? Even if the world's ending tomorrow, I feel like what I'm gonna do is just like if I'm happy, if I'm content with my what I'm doing, I think that's enough.
Yep.
So just to all the listeners, all the viewers, just you know, um even if you're at your wit's end, even if like there's no light in front of you, I think there will always be a way out. There will always be hope. Even if you're alone in abyss, just keep going on, and you will eventually find somewhere you belong. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I want to say.
And on that note, guys, we're gonna end today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Charles, for coming on the episode talking about mental health and everything. Um,
Of course, I'll always be here.
of course, man. And you know, all of you at home, on the train, in your car, wherever you're listening or watching this. I hope you persevere through whatever you're going through, whether it be financial struggles, relationship struggles. Just remember, there's always someone there for you. Um, and if you ever need to reach out, I'm always here. Send me if you guys ever feel this way. You guys know me. I'm always there for you. Just if there's ever something going on, just let me know. And whenever you feel like there's something going on with someone, just check in on them. That's another thing I forgot to mention that I want to do more of this year is just saying how much people mean to me. Really saying that, expressing how I feel about people. I wouldn't say I was doing the opposite, where I'm just telling people that I don't like them. I think I just want to tell people that more because some people don't hear it enough that they're actually meaningful in someone's life and they matter. A lot of people don't hear that. And I want,
Sometimes, yeah, just hearing that, just having someone beside you means a lot to someone. Yep.
yeah. So, all you out there, try your best to help those around you, be grateful for what you have, and try to do good in this world. Thank you guys
Hmm.
for listening. You can catch us every other week on Sunday, 12 p.m. That's our schedule, bi-weekly, okay, guys? So it's going to be 2 episodes, 2 to 3 episodes a month. And it's going to be every other Sunday, okay? And check us out on Instagram at the.way podcast. Check out our website for our blogs. And yeah, Charles, do you have any plugs?
No, but keep tuning into the Wait podcast, and maybe someday,
Swag.
someday, Internet Gas will return.
Yes, guys, actually, he does have a plug. Search up Internet Gas Podcast. I will link it in the description of this video.
Please don't link it.
I'm gonna link it. I'm gonna link it, and it's gonna be the most epic swag thing you'll ever watch. Okay, thank you guys. I'll see you next week. Or
See you
sorry,
next
see you
week.
in 2 weeks.